Welcome to the Great Basin Fire Potential Briefing for Tuesday, September 18th. This is Gina Palma. Over the next couple of days, we'll continue to have impacts from gusty winds and low relative humidity, today especially for much of Utah, into the Arizona Strip and southern Nevada, with winds shifting to the northwest behind a front across Idaho into northern Nevada. On Wednesday, post-frontal winds will increase across Idaho and Wyoming, with northwest wind gusts around 30 miles per hour, and still gusty winds and low relative humidity across Utah as well. On Thursday, the weather quiets down a little bit with no significant impacts. We'll also likely have some shower activity push into eastern and southeast Utah on Wednesday with some showers and thunderstorms, and also behind the front up across Idaho into far northern Nevada. Looking at the precipitation over the last 24 hours, only some isolated thunderstorms occurred across parts of Wyoming into southeast Idaho and over eastern Utah, with very little precipitation, only a few hundredths reported. However, there were some gusty outflow winds with these thunderstorms. Yesterday, light initial attack occurred across the Great Basin, but we still have several large fires across the region. Over the last 7 days, precipitation has mainly been focused up across Idaho and it's been very light. And over the last 2 weeks, any precipitation we saw across the Great Basin, even in the south, has been well below normal. Therefore, our fuel conditions are still quite high, with ERCs above the 80th to 90th percentile over the northern two-thirds of the region, and many areas still above the 97th percentile. Looking at how these ERCs compare to normal, you can see they are well above normal and near or above records across western Wyoming, where we have had some new large fires, and across northern and central Utah, where we continue to see large fires in that area as well. However, we are seeing these near record or record ERCs almost region-wide, with the exception of parts of the central Idaho mountains, which have decreased a little bit. The satellite loop from this morning shows a trough of low pressure along the west coast, with those gusty winds out ahead of the trough across much of the central and eastern portions of the Great Basin today. As that low continues to track east and pushes a cold front through the area, we will see clouds increase a little bit in central Idaho later today, but we'll also see temperatures decrease and winds shift to the northwest. Now looking at the smoke dispersion forecast for the next few days, you can see those gusty southwest winds still pushing the smoke off to the northeast, both up north and down south into Utah. This will continue for the most part on Wednesday, but you can start to see the winds shifting to the west across Idaho on Wednesday, and then eventually winds shift to the northwest across the Great Basin as we get into Thursday, pushing more of those smoke plumes down to the southeast. Looking at our weather pattern for later today, you can see that trough still along the west coast. Again, gusty winds, dry conditions over Nevada and Utah, and you can see where we have areas of high risk across much of Utah into eastern Nevada. We will start to see a little bit of cloud cover and maybe even a few showers in the central Idaho mountains later today. Relative humidity will remain in the single digits across Utah, western Utah into Nevada, and more in the teens further north. And you can see that wind picture on the right, with wind gusts between about 30 and 35 miles per hour today in those areas shaded in orange. As we move into Wednesday, that trough moves over the central areas of the Great Basin, so we'll see a better chance for clouds and some showers across central Idaho, even into southern Idaho and possibly far northeastern Nevada, and we'll see temperatures start to cool on Wednesday as well behind that front. Out ahead of the front, we'll still see gusty winds across eastern Idaho and Wyoming and across Utah with those drier conditions. We will also see some moisture start to move into far southeast Utah, therefore we'll see a chance for showers and thunderstorms in those regions as well on Wednesday. Relative humidity remains in the single digits across much of Nevada and Utah, and even up into parts of southwest Wyoming and in the teens over eastern Idaho. You can see the gusty winds in the image on the right. We'll likely see stronger gusts on Wednesday over parts of eastern Utah with gusts around 40 miles per hour. And we will see those winds shift to the northwest across Idaho into western Wyoming, with some gusts also between 35 and 40 miles per hour during the afternoon and evening. On Thursday, that trough moves off to the east with a little bit quieter conditions and no high risk across the Great Basin. Relative humidity comes up a little bit in central Idaho, but remains into the single digits and low to mid-teens elsewhere. You can see those winds really decrease on Thursday, however still remain breezy over parts of Wyoming into eastern and central Idaho, but will likely be decreased from what we'll see as far as wind speeds on Wednesday. Forecast amounts of precipitation will generally be light over southeast Utah and over central Idaho as those showers move through on Wednesday. As we go later in the week, you can see general southwest or westerly flow with another trough approaching the Pacific Northwest, with generally quiet conditions across the Great Basin and no high risk. As we move into Saturday, we'll likely see some showers drop into central Idaho, with drier conditions continuing elsewhere. And it's really Sunday into Monday next week where we'll see a significant change as that area of low pressure tracks east and south, with temperatures dropping again over the northern half of the Great Basin, bringing some gusty winds and drier conditions to areas in the central part of the basin and in the south, and then those showers again to areas of Idaho and even western Wyoming. On Monday, that trough continues to track eastward, keeping any shower activity in the far north, but we will see cooler temperatures further south, but still dry conditions. We haven't issued any high risk for the weekend yet, but we will be watching those gusty winds and low humidities ahead of the next front. Forecast amounts of precipitation over the next 7 days are a little bit better across Idaho and even into western Wyoming, especially as we go through later in the weekend with that next area of low pressure that moves across the area. So we may see some areas of wetting rains in the central Idaho mountains. Looking at the 8 to 14 day outlook, taking us into the first day of October, you can see still warm conditions in the south and eastern part of the basin and dry weather. However, as those deeper troughs start to track further south and east, we'll see cooler temperatures in the north and west and a better chance of above normal precipitation for Idaho and Wyoming as we get towards October. That concludes the webcast for today. Check back tomorrow for the latest updates.